So they basically, the whole life is around the animals, you know. We have a lot of cows, we have a lot of camels, we have a lot of, you know, goats and lambs. So they just take care of them, and then they, you know, they get the milk, the meat, and then they sell them when they reproduce and get whatever they want from that. So that is the life where I come from. And majority of the people in that village where my dad was born was illiterate. They don't read, they don't write. And my dad, when he was a teenager, he was a troublemaker. So he would do a lot of fighting here and there. And my grandpa was, you know, was so upset from him and say, this kid is going to be killed one day because every day there's a fight. So I need to do something with him. So he sent him to a nearby sheikh. Sheikh is like a teacher, religious figure, who takes some students and just teach them how to read, how to write, how to recite Quran and things like that. So he just tell him, please just take this boy from me. And, you know, maybe he gave him, you know, a couple of goats or lamb and, you know, just take him from me and we'll see you in, you know, in a couple of years. Hopefully you will learn some disciplines and some. So my dad learned how to read and write. And he actually, when he came back, he was among few in that village that knows how to read and write. So that's what the first education he got. And when you get education, even if it's small, make you think. And the first thing he thought about, why I'm living in this village? This is not the life I want to be. And he thought to move himself to the city and to live in a city, to establish himself there. And to do that, he has to sell all his belongings, like whatever cows he had, whatever things. And that was something unheard of in that village. How do you do that? Like, that's not, you know, who goes to a city? You know, this is the real life. Of course, everybody say that from both sides, but that's how they learn. You know, how are you cursed? What's happening to you? Like how you sell all the cows? You know, that's just was not in their mind. And so my dad just did that, and he went to the city, established himself, brought my mom. And my grandpa was very upset with him for doing so, how he abandoned, you know, our way of life. And, but anyway, my dad went there, and that's where I was born. So if you go, I don't know if, go the second one. This is the city where I was born in, called Al-Ghurdat. And it is in West Eritrea, and it's a beautiful city. It lay over a river called Barka, and we have a lot of palm tree, and it's very nice. But don't look at this also nice. It's very hot. The minimum temperature is 60 degrees. That's the minimum. Like when it's cold, it's 60 degrees. So when it's hot, also it's like 100, 104, 105. And of course, don't tell me how we came from that 100 to Minnesota. That's another story. So my dad opened a store here. We started life, but I was born during the time of independence. War independence. So there was a war going on. Eritreans trying to get independence from Ethiopia. Ethiopia was the occupying force. So there was a war. So I was born during a war. So this city was considered like the center of the freedom fighters for Eritrea. And so there was always battles with the Ethiopian army here and there, and the city was controlled by the Ethiopian army. And one day, a spy to the Ethiopian army was killed in a few hundred meters from our home. At the same time, there was another battle going on in another city, and the army was defeated by the rebels, by the Eritrean rebels. So the governor of our city, coming from that, knowing that, hearing that news about the defeat of his army, and then hearing that the main spy being killed, he said he didn't take it. He said, just shoot in everyone, literally. And just imagine a city And the people who are supposed to be protecting that city, turning their guns on the civilians. That's exactly what happened. So the Ethiopian soldiers start shooting on civilians in the city, on the street, on the coffee shops, on the market, even in the worship areas. While people are praying, just shoot them. Even going in the street, even some people who have, mental ill, they don't know how to hide, you just kill them in the road, even animals. That was a massacre. It's actually called the Black Sunday, and it was on March 9, 1975. I'm sure you maybe never heard about this, because there's a lot of areas in the world that we don't know what's going on, but that's just my story. I remember the difficult moment was when the soldiers came near our neighborhood, and my dad was building our house, beautiful house on the very close to the river there. It's a brick building. It was like ceramic and wood and glass, the windows, and we are talking about the 60s. So that's and the 70s. That's a lot. But our house was almost brand new, but it was under construction. So when you come there, you don't think that there is people living there, because you will see the tool of construction out there, the concrete out there. So when the army came and they were shooting on our neighborhood, one of them actually came into our house, and because our house on a hill, and he was just shooting from there. And he thought nobody in this house, and we were over 15 people in that house. If he would just turn in today, I would not be here with you. But God saved us that day. And I remember that moment when my mother telling me and my sister, to hide under the bed and just to say, Ya Latif, Ya Latif, means like, oh God, the merciful, save me. We're just saying these words, and for like a couple of hours, we're just hiding a few hours in the army phone. Anyway, when I still remember, I'm talking about like 6 years old, 7 years old, and it's still vivid in my memory. When we went out, I just saw the destruction, the burning, the fire, the scream, the smoke. Our parents didn't let us to go anywhere, of course, but we could see from outside. And anyway, later on, we knew that about 400 people killed in that day, just a few hours. We had to leave the city. My father, asked one man to take us on a camel and to go to the countryside where my mother come from. And in the camel, me and my sister and my brother and my mother, and we have this gentleman, taking the camel and taking us to the village. And it's still funny that I remember that journey. It's still so in the middle of the day, my brother wanna pee, and and we are on the camel. We need to get out of that, and so we're trying to tell the person, and he was deaf. He don't hear. So my mother, my brother, I remember taking his shoes and throwing on the man, and so that at least he can see the shoes. And then he went back to us and said, "What is going on?" And my mom said, "If you could, kneel the camel," and we went down and we went to relieve ourselves, and then we continued the journey. Anyway, we went back there, and that was the first time I experienced countryside and nomad life for me as a city boy. And it was amazing. I mean, just you are with the nature, you are with animals around you, the cattle, and people, at night. And during the day, take them out to for grazing, and then at night they bring them home. And in the night you see this mixed sound of goat and cow and lamb, just screaming. But it was also beautiful in a way. And I learned how to graze because I took some goat babies and I would take them to trees, and I would take the stick to bring some fruits down, and I will be very satisfied when I see them eating, and I will be very sad when I see them outside the shade, and I will try to bring them in, and I'm a child, but anyway, it was a beautiful life. 2 years from there, we came back to the city, and this time was free. So the Richland rebels took over the city, and the city was for the people. And of course, that's a different feeling also. When you have an occupying forces, people who you don't feel belonging to them, and they are forcing you to do things, you don't feel good. And then when your people come, it's a big relief. So we felt that, but it was also, the city was under attack. So every day, almost, the jet come and bomb the city. There would be bombardments. And I was amazed just to see how people got used to these bombardments. Human being is amazing. Like, we got so used to it that the market will open. My dad will go to the store, and he'd take me with him. And then people just go, sell and buy, and go to restaurant. But then when the jet come, when they hear the jet, they just clear the street. And life continue. To the extent that we used to have part of the construction code of any house that you build like a cave or a shelter in front of your house, so that when you hear the jet, you just go and slide there to get some shelter. And then when the jet leave, you go back to your, and as a kids, we learn to do that. So we play, and then when we hear the jet coming or the bombing coming, it's just we go and. But life become, so just we got used to it. I remember one time, and this is not I'm not making this up, but one day I'm in the store with my dad. We just closed one side of the door, and we are watching this jet, and the rebels trying to, shoot at the jet, and literally we are seeing like the jet hitting and the shooting from them. It's like a movie, but a real movie, like a real life movie. And then actually they shoot the jet, and they were able to bring it down. And I saw that, the smoke coming out from the jet until, it went down, and the people went to capture. Anyway, what I want to say about this is that we as children, we become affected by this. So our toy, our play, our games become all about war. Like, I remember we will, the games we used to play is that, okay, we have a team, and our neighborhood have a team. Okay, we are going to fight, and the game is about basically a battle. And we will create like something like an AK-47 looks like, it's a toy, but yes. So even as a children, when you live in an environment where everything is about war, your childhood everything is about war. But anyway, if you go, that's the city, that's the river. Yeah, so I want to focus on education because we are in an educational institution here, and I see education as an important thing in life. You saw what happened to my dad, just for learning a little bit how he changed his life and moved from the nomad life to the city, and from there he was really wanted to instill the value of education on us as children. His level of education, by the way, was around like 3rd grade or 4th grade. But then he taught himself. Like, his level right now, either a master's degree or a bachelor degree. But he never went to any formal education. He just taught himself a long time. And so he was always instilling on us the importance of education. And there's always a verse of a poem he used always to say. If you go to the next slide, me and my sister and my brothers always, or my siblings, always we memorize this. And this is in Arabic. It says, "Al-ilmu يرفع بيتا لا عماد له والجهل يهدم بيت العز والشرف." I try to translate it. It means basically knowledge and education raise and lift up a house that has no pillars, while ignorance destroy the house of pride and honor. So it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter where you come from. Even if you come from a poor family or a humble, background, if you get the education, you will be better. And if you don't have the education, whoever you are, you will not succeed in life. So always he used to basically he will instill education in us, and even at home, like in addition to sending us to school, at home also he always will, give us homework, and we have to write 3 pages, 4 pages every single day, and we have to read a book. So me and my siblings were always, under that pressure, and we have to complete that because otherwise we'll be in a trouble. And I remember my dad sometimes he used to have a motorcycle. And then, of course, as kids, we would play and we enjoy, and then we forget about what we have to do. And then when we hear the motorcycle, no, everybody, go and try to do the homework. And then it turned out it's not there. Actually, him is like a neighbor. But I still remember this. But he was always used to, emphasize the education for us. But not only education, he also wanted us to learn about life skills. I remember when I was with him in the store, he would give me like 1,000 bill, the money, and he asked me to count, and he would show me how to, put my money there and how to count. There's small skills here and there, but he will give my sister, one of my sisters, for example, he will give her the expenses of the family for a whole month. She will be the treasurer of the family. And then he will tell her, you don't spend that money until you get something from me. And he will write a piece of paper and he will sign it. So my mom needs a grocery, he will write like a small piece of paper, sign it, and give it to my mom, or if I need something. And then we go to my sister, she's the treasurer, and we will give her that, and she will give us money. And the end of the month, he will sit down with her and see, okay, I gave you this, give me, what are all the receipts, and if there's any difference, skill of life of accounting and things like that. And this is one thing I feel that sometimes as parents we don't do. We just leave our kids to to school, and we don't teach them a lot of life skills, because there are 2 schools. There are the school that we go to for education, and there's life schools, and that's a very important school that we need in our life. My education started. If you go to the next slide, so in my time, my education started with my blackboard was the sand. So alphabets, I learned alphabets on the sand. So our class will be like just on the ground, there's old sand, and you just you just learn how to write, and the teacher will come behind you and will see, okay, how you are writing the alphabets. And you don't have to sharpen pencil or things like that. You just easily, you can go over the sand. That's how I learned alphabets. And then this is the next stage. It's called the luh. This is a wood.
Oh,
If you go back,
oh, sorry.
this is a wood. So we would write, a lot of the kids in the Muslim world, they learn Quran first. That's like a basic education. So we will write this with an ink, and then we will memorize it. The teacher will, make sure that we are reciting it right, and the pronunciation is right. And then once memorized it well, we go and wash it, and then the next day you have a new chapter that you read. So that is also another way of that's how I started my education. But then when we, what happened is, we had to go to, we have to leave the city. Again, the bombardment came and we have to leave the city. And this time was, we have to cross the border. We have to leave the area and we have to go to another part of our family, but cross border in Sudan. So we went like 3 days, 4 days walking. And I still remember the night we left our home, very nice home. We left everything as is. And in a short notice, because the rumor was coming that the Ethiopian army is getting closer and we have to leave. My mom just took one bag and put one dress for every family member, and then just took us. And at night, we crossed the river that you saw there, and it was at night. The good things, there was not a lot of water. And then we went to the jungle, at night, because during the day, we were afraid that, the airplane would hit us. So we have to go at night. So for 3 days, 4 days walking until we reached Sudan. And when we reached Sudan, my dad wanted me to continue. So in the same, almost like within a month or something, he sent me to a boarding school and I was about 9 years old at that time. I was in a boarding school for almost 2 years, but I was coming every like 1 year after, after we finished the school, we come home and for 3 months and then go back. But that taught me really self-reliance, like to rely on myself, to do things. We used to wash our clothing at the end of the week, in the river. Just take a soup and just from the river, you wash your clothing and then you just dry it. And we are 9, 10 years old, even my peers. But that helped us to really mature faster and to think of responsibility in an early stage. That allowed me in 3 years to actually got a scholarship and go to Kuwait, which is another country. And I was 13, but that upbringing helped me to be able to travel to another country, to rely on myself, and not to be just afraid and scared. If you go to the next again, yeah. So I was in Kuwait for a while, and I studied high school there, and I got a very good grade, but I couldn't go to university. This is one of the things in that part of the world that, because of lack of good governance, it's not about what the grade you bring, it's about who do you know. If you don't have network, if you don't have someone who can take you to the university, you will not. I remember I got like 90.8%. That was high at that time. But a friend of mine who got 68 got to the university. And mine I didn't get. It's just because I didn't have the right network and the right affiliation, unfortunately. But sometimes you think, sometimes when God closes a door on you, there's another doors will be open. And after a while, I got a visa to come to America. And that was in 1999. So now we are in 2020. So I think we see the time is passing very quickly. But when I came in 1999, I came with my family, my wife and 2 children. And my thinking was, this is a good opportunity for me to pursue my higher education, the opportunity that I couldn't do in the Kuwait. So when I came, and again, I came not as a refugee. I came, there's a program called Lottery, I don't know if you heard about DV Lottery, diversity program. So you apply and they accept you, but you are on your own. No government assistance, nothing. And I remember coming to Minnesota, and of course there's a story for Minnesota because how I came up, how I chose Minnesota. Is when you come to a different country first time, you want to know someone there who at least guide you in the first few months, how about the system there. and happened to know someone, not know actually, it's a family, the family knows. And he used to live in Virginia and DC, all his life there. But he came for 6 months during the period that I want to come to America. And when I called him, I said, "Where are you?" He said, "I am in a city called Minneapolis." "What is the area? What is the airport code?" "It's MSP. I'm coming there." Not doing any homework about where I'm going. I thought America is going to be like, Kuwait or Sudan or, it's like a country. I didn't know that it's a continent. It's like you come to an area where it's freezing, and in another area at the same time, people are sweating. But that's America. So I came here, and I joined in the first year St. Mary University, and I got my degree in a couple of years from St. Mary University. I'm so happy because finally I was able to finish my bachelor degree. And when I came, of course, I had to find a job right away because I was low in cash. I remember when I came, after I paid the first month of rent, it was like $300 in my pocket. And there is no any support. I had to find a job quickly. And when I think about it right now, I say, I was crazy. How would I bring a family and I have a $300 and still, I wasn't worried at that time. I was not worried at all. I don't know, for some reason, I was not worried at all. I was not worried. And I think sometimes when I look at it, I think when you come from sometimes a hardship background where you went through many things, your tendency to risk is high. It's like your bar is high. So what will happen? You compare everything about the worst thing that happened to you. But I was lucky. I got a job within 7 to 10 days of me coming to the US. And I was lucky because sometimes many immigrants, they may not have that opportunity, but I was blessed to get a job. It was the most boring job, I have to say. I was in downtown and I was doing only Social Security for 8 hours, Social Security numbers. So they give me just a list of Social Security numbers. And there is like a computer where I just put. So imagine your job being not even the whole keyboard, just part of the keyboard, which is the numbers, and doing it for 8 hours. This was the most boring, but it was paying the bills. So I think I lasted for 3 weeks or something. And after that, I said I will be crazy. I have to go and find a better job. And I found a job as a pharmacy technician. Because that's a background. I studied in Kuwait, an institution, a technical institution that prepare you to be a pharmacy technician. So, and within that year, also we started a RAH. So if you go to the next slides, I'm trying to skip quickly because the time is there. Yeah, so that's when we started, and this is when I received my doctorate degree last year. So I'm grateful also for my dad and the family who instilled the value of education into me. Because I will not be in this, without that family, without that support. And when the more you get in education, it makes you really humble. It really make you realize what you don't know is actually more than what you know. And that's make you better. So the more education, the more you become, there are a lot of things I don't know. And that's just humble us all. And I'm grateful for my dad for pushing me to be to do that. But there's another chapter. I'm going to end with it. If you go to the next, this is my dad, by the way. A year ago, I took a picture with him. He was in Cairo for medical reasons, so I just took him there. But then he has to go to Sudan. He insisted to go back to Sudan during the war. He said, no, I want to go back to my home. So he's there. Another chapter I started with some East African immigrants here in Minnesota is the Horn of the American Relief Agency for the Horn of Africa. Coming from that background that I talked to you about, is make you feel that there's a moral obligation that you need to do something for the people you live for. You know, we are blessed. I'm blessed to be in America, and we are blessed to be, you know, in a place where at least we have a job, our kids go to school, we are in a peaceful environment. But that made me and many, you know, East African American here, you know, to remember where we came from, and we say we need to help. So after many conversations, we established this organization called Araha in 2020. So the same within a year from the time I came. And Araha is, if you go to the next, just to show them, this is, so our mission is to provide relief and development. And so our tagline basically maybe capture our mission, delivering life essential and developing opportunities. So if you go next, basically we do food. Next, we like distribution of food.
The next one.
Yeah, and then water. We dig water well, and then if you go next, you know, provide wheelchair for people with, you know, disability. Go, you know, these are just type of project we do. This is like right now, currently, we are doing it in Sudan. We have a feeding center because of the displacement that's going on in Sudan. But we know relief is not the answer always. We want people to empower themselves. We want them to stand on their feet. So we try to give them some vocational training, some opportunities in life so that, you know, and give them the tools so that they can do things with, you know, and get jobs. We do sometimes housing units also for those who have been displaced because of flood and others. If you go next, but the most important one, and the one I love the most, is education. And I want to end with this story. You know, one thing I learned in the humanitarian sector is that the more you empower people, the better for them. You know, giving them food and you know, hand over. Yes, in crisis it's okay, in disaster, but you wanna make them stand on their feet, because relief is not at all the answer. And one of this empowerment is education, because education gives people options, gives people option in life. You know, the nomad people that where my dad come from, and this is happening right now in the last maybe 70 years. Drought is becoming more and more in the whole of Africa, and those nomad people, the only thing they know is livestock and farming, and both of them relies on rain. So if there is no rain, basically their life becomes devastated, and then they have to be uprooted, looking for, when the livestock died and the farm failed, they have to cross the border and become refugees, and then their life will change forever, because now they will become dependent on foreign aid. Education was the answer, and we established a school in a refugee camps in Sudan in 2011, and we made the high school for girls, although the boys didn't have school, but because it was more harder for the girls to go to other cities. So we make it, and this was the first batch, the first graduates of the school, of the high school. And I want to just two of them, I want to share a story of two of them. One of them, Kauthar, she graduated from a high school, our high school. We gave her a scholarship to go to university within Sudan. She graduated from education college. She became a teacher. She came back to the camp, and now she is getting salary from us and living with dignity because she teaches in that school that she graduated from. Another one, her name is Zakia, and I was heard actually last year you invited her, or a couple of years invited her to speak on Zoom. She also was a graduate from that school, and we gave her a college scholarship in Sudan. And while she's studying there, her family moved to the US. They got refugee status. And when she came here, she went to Kentucky. She finished her college. And actually, a couple years ago, she was the keynote speaker of our annual dinner here in Minneapolis. She graduated, she's very successful. And I think Bethel University invited her a year ago, or 2 years ago. That's what Nick told me. And I'm just, I want to show you like how education turned the life of people. And with that, I want to end. If you go to the next one. Nelson Mandela has a powerful quote. He said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And he's right. And I am a testimony. My life is a testimony of that. And I saw also how people's lives was changed because of education. Thank you very much again for giving me the opportunity.
I'm just wondering, thank you so much for your powerful presentation. It's kind of very interesting to me because I shared with Dr. Idris that I spent some time working refugee camps in Sudan and actually spent some time in Congo. Yeah, and there, so it's really interesting to see those pictures and even to think about like geographically or, you know, what it looks like. There's a lot of desert there. I remember a little river. It's just when you talk about the drought and everything and the people are facing in the Horn of Africa, I think that's another privilege that we have to not think about environmental justice and how those things drive mass migration around the world. And so as we sit in a country that is ready to ascribe less than kindness and judgment to people who are struggling on a global perspective, I think your story is so powerful in so many ways. So I'm just wondering if there are people if you have a minute for a few questions, and what questions the students or other participants have for your story and what we have to learn from you. So.
No student. Did you know English when you came to the United States?
Yes, I knew some English because I studied. When I was in Kuwait, I studied pharmacy technician program, which was in English. So I improved my English, and when I came here, I was able to. It wasn't that good, but I made it.
I'm also, is there a question?
Oh, I'm just putting.
Okay. I'm also curious to know, I mean, one of the things that we talk about in social work is the importance of people understanding how to engage and engage well with people. And I think that we all too often don't understand the assumptions that people make about groups of people. Is there anything that you would be able to share with us about the kinds of assumptions that people make about refugees or immigrants that are coming from other countries that might be really important for us to know?
Yeah, I think that's a good observation. I think, you know, people have different background. And so when you see people who are coming from different countries, everyone has a story. And one thing I learned is that people do not leave their hometown and their villages that easily. Something has to be very bad that gone in their life to change their life. Because when you leave and you cross borders, you are going to the unknown, you know? So it must be something very strongly that's happening to you that is driving you. So I think people just to be understanding of, you know, what's going on. And now the whole world, the migration, we are becoming diverse as a world. Since World War II, I think the world is becoming more and more diverse and very also interconnected. So it's very important for us to understand the background of people, you know, their thinking, the way of thinking, you know, why they do things, the way they do it. Because just the world becoming more interconnected, and our workplace is becoming more diverse. Our school is becoming diverse, you know. So diversity is the norm. Diversity actually is the norm. Like somebody was telling me, I did this, my doctorate was about cultural diversity management. And one of the beautiful quote, he said, people say diversity management. He said the right word is managing in diversity, because diversity is not a problem to be managed. Diversity is how God created us. God created this world in a very diverse way. Mixed. It's just happened to be in the last 50 or 70 years, we happen to come to each other and know each other and occupy each other and colonize each other, So that is, we should take diversity as the norm.
I like what you said about just how like education is so impactful on like everybody's lives. So when you were kind of like taking that route, like I'm gonna like fully pursue my education beyond just what I did in your home or like in US, if you kept furthering your education farther and farther. And I was wondering like when you realized you wanted to do this specific role and also like what like was kind of like motivating you to keep going in your education because it can get like hard and long and all of that.
Yeah, no, you're right. You mean the role of humanitarian?
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't plan for it, to be honest with you. I didn't plan for it. There are certain things in life come, and you do it. I can understand why I kept going, because I think just seeing the fulfillment, just seeing the impact that we do in the lives of people there. Whenever I see a report coming from our field offices, whenever I see the images coming, $100 that sometimes we spend maybe in a restaurant, it can't feed a whole family in the whole of Africa. The whole family for a month, you can feed them with that $100. So when I see the impact that we are doing there, I think that's just give you, you want to do more of this. Because again, happiness, it's not only external, it's internal. The more you see that you are bringing a smile and joy to people, the more you become happy and you want to continue doing so. So I didn't, the educational part, I agree with you. It wasn't always, joyful and things like that, but it's, I think maybe, what my dad instilled in us and pushing us. And also when you come, my mom is still illiterate. She don't read and write. My dad, as I told you, maybe the formal education, he got about 3rd grade and 4th grade. But today, my dad, who brought us, not only me, but I have a sister who is a doctor, she's a physician. I have an engineer in my, in my one of my siblings. So when you see this progress, it you want to continue doing so. I don't know about the age of AI now, how people will think about education, but yeah. Uganda?
Yeah.
Uganda actually is part of the area. We are part of the scope of the area we should be serving.
Yeah.
But when you start, you want to start small and you don't have a lot of resources to stretch. So we started right now with Somalia, Kenya, Ethiopia, and Sudan. Those are the 4 countries. But in future, hopefully we will be in Uganda.
Yeah, we're actually doing some discussion about building a course to take students to Uganda and J-term. So I don't know if you're in, it's not going to happen this year, but we're working on that right now.
Or maybe we'll start the program for Uganda. Who knows?
Did we have a question too?
I was gonna ask, like, where specifically in Kenya?
In Isiolo. Our office in Isiolo, in the northeastern side. Usually we try to make our office in areas where there's a lot of marginalized area. Like if you come to Nairobi and the central zone, it's much better, and you want to serve people who are especially affected by the climate, especially the northeastern side, the Garissa, Wajir, Isiolo, Marsabit, that area.
I was gonna ask, like, in your work in the Horn of Africa, like how do you get connected with the communities that you serve? Is it from like prior relationships that you have like had ever since you were a kid, or is it like more recently connected, or yeah? How do you-
Yeah, so actually, one of our strengths as an organization is that we are connected locally. It's a diaspora-led organization. So we are a US organization, but majority of the people who are leading the organization are originally from the region. So we understand the culture, we speak the language, and we have connection, and we have field offices there. We have like a team in the ground who do the work, but we are in touch with them, and I travel there. Our program director, Ms. Anab, also sometimes go there. So we have teams in the ground who do the implementation of the work, but we're well connected about the region, to the region. Yeah.
Well, I know, is there, oh, here's one more question. How do you deal with all like the heartache and the pain that you see from other people? Like, how do you deal with that emotionally?
That's a very good question. And and it's been 24 years almost. You know, when you are humanitarian, you are in a position to be, you are in the center between donors, people with a kind heart, and beneficiaries, the end users, you know, the people you are serving. You are in between because, you know, as an organization. And just to be there, it's a fascinating position because you will see, you know, how people are helping people, but they don't know. There is no relationship except that they just want to, you know, for the sake of humanity, they want to help. There's no any relationship between them. And then you see the impact that people are doing here. So yes, you see the misery, you see the pain. Sometimes I receive in my phone, you know, cases that need help, and sometimes I become overwhelmed. And you cannot do individual, you know, cases. It's just a lot. But also, yes, it's painful but what counter that is that also you see the impact that you are doing in the ground. So that's keep me really going.
So I think we have to, unfortunately finish up our time because there's a class that comes in here. I do want to make a comment that I encourage everyone, you know, whether you're a social work major or not, in social work, we care about policies that impact people. We care about all of the stories that we hear. But I encourage everyone to like leave no one's stone unturned when you want to understand the West or the US's complicity in creating conditions which also perpetuate the refugee and the humanitarian crises around the world. So we need to understand that too, because people don't just, you spoke to it, like you don't just leave your home for no reason. And so it's really important for us to begin to understand how can we deepen our empathy of and understanding of those conditions which happen from a global perspective. What is our own responsibility in that? And how can we then respond to that? I am so grateful, Dr. Idris, that you came to share your powerful story with us. I would say that we have your contact information, and I would guess if you want to learn more about your organization or how to support the organization, even the Biswell groups or whatever, that we have your contact information.
Thank you.
We are so honored to have you here today
Thank you.
so grateful. We have to talk a little bit about the Sudan. So thank you everyone for coming, for your great attention, and thank you.
Actually, the organization website is araha.org. That's ARAHA.org. If you want to go and maybe see the social media and what we do there. But thank you very much. I'm so excited to be in this class.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.